Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy Tactics Rebirth. I'd like to start with just a little bit of housekeeping. The first thing I wanted to mention is that I made a fairly large mistake in my description of the PSP translation of the FFT script. I said it was done by Alexander O. Smith, but actually someone in the Something Awful forums, Let's Play forum thread, mentioned to me that that is incorrect. I looked it up, and in fact, the PSP version was translated by Tom Slattery, and he is a fellow alumnus of the JET program. For those of you who've worked in Japan, you probably know what that's about. And he translated other games, including Final Fantasy VI Advance, Final Fantasy IV DS, Chrono Trigger DS, Final Fantasy XIII, and one of the Dissidia games. So yeah, apologies about that. It's a common misconception that Smith did translate the PSP version of the game, because he did translate almost all the other Ivalice games, including Vagrant Story was the first one, and then after that Final Fantasy XII and the Advance Final Fantasy Tactics Advance games. So yeah, so it's easy to understand why people make the mistake into thinking that he translated that as well. And he also actually translated the PSP version of Tactics Ogre that was released not too long ago on the PSP. And so yeah, he's done a lot of Mitsuno's games, but not the PSP version of Final Fantasy Tactics. So the second point I wanted to mention is that I wanted to apologize for not posting much lately, and that's because I have been sick. I mentioned that in the last video, but the cold kind of came back to get me, even though I thought I was over it. And the final point I wanted to mention is that I'm going to try to change up my casting style a little bit based on the feedback from the Something Awful Let's Play forum thread. So I will be trying to talk a little bit less, leave a little bit more silence when I don't have anything particularly intelligent to say, and I'll avoid reading the dialogue in the game. So if you like that change or you don't like that change, please leave some feedback either in the YouTube comments or in the Something Awful Let's Play forum thread. So, speaking of dialogue, let's get started with the first bit of storyline that we're going to see in this video. Ramza here, not entirely trusting what Daisadarg is saying. He's worried about this idea of a frontal assault on the Deathcore stronghold at Fort Zeekden. Here we see the conflict I mentioned in the earlier video, where kind of family dynamics of the Beowulfs were introduced. That conflict really starts to come to a head here. In the previous video, we saw Delta starting to begin to question the world around him, his position, why he's fighting for the Hokuten, and all that sort of thing. And that's kind of a build-up and a major shift from the role he played earlier in this act, where he was fairly quiet. He provided a lot of information, he showed he was in the know, but he didn't really have strong opinions about anything, except for sort of expressing his affection for his sister and his concern for Ramza. All that is about to change. From Algus's perspective, Ramza just seems spoiled. And it's kind of often the case that when you have a hierarchy like the one we see in FFT, the class system in FFT, the people at kind of the bottom of the upper rung of the hierarchy, like Algus, are a lot more militant about defending their privilege, and they have a stronger opinion about it than people higher up who might have more liberal opinions. And that's kind of what we see Matsuno depicting here. Ramza doesn't... He's quite naive, really. He doesn't have a very deep understanding of the nature of the class system in Ivalus society, and he tends to try to look at things very personally, in terms of personal relationships and in terms of just kind of the sort of general goodness that Balbane's encouraged him to believe in. From Algus's perspective, this can't appear as anything other than just being spoiled. Of course, Matsuno's thoughts on that are a different matter. We'll see how Ramza's character continues to develop. Delta finally admitting the unease that he had felt this whole time, but never really spoke up about because of this crisis. He's finally speaking out about it. And kind of goes back and forth between fatalism and the thought that maybe, like Ramza says, if you put effort into it, you can change things. This reed flute is a ongoing motif throughout the game. And it's here that we start to see Delita's relationship to power start to develop. And he's going to be a major foil character to Ramza because of that relationship to power and how it differs from Ramza's own relationship to power. Alright, so we can start to get back to some gameplay here. I really hope that we don't end up in a random encounter, but I do need to go back to Igros. And the reason for that is I need to buy some new equipment for Delita. That was my mistake. Alright. And I'm going to buy one pair of battle boots. And maybe 3 mantles. But I'm not going to equip those accessories yet because there is the possibility that we will run into a battle. Oh, got lucky. Got lucky. I was just worried about the goblins. Always gotta watch out for those goblins. Oh, don't have enough for that. So... I will sell this holy water. I don't really need it immediately. I will be using Chemist, perhaps, in coming videos, but at the moment I don't have the opportunity. And yeah, I should mention that I will be putting up the poll for what classes to use in Act 2, either after this video or after the next video. Because Act 2 is rapidly approaching, and I want to see what you all would like to choose in terms of the classes that we'll use. I'm pretty set on having Ramza as a bard, but I'm flexible about what we do with the other characters. And so, first poll that I'm going to put up is going to ask which special character should we use between Mustadio, Agrius, or finally maybe Rafa as our kind of 5th character. And the other 3 characters we'll use, aside from Ramza, will be the 3 mercenaries we'll pick up in the next act. But we do need to decide what classes they're going to use. So there will be a separate poll for that. So once I get the results in, we can start formulating the plans for Act 2. Alright. And I'm just going to buy some potions. Because I need them. I don't have enough for Phoenix Down. Or I do have enough for 1 Phoenix Down, so I'll buy that. Alright then. I think we are good to go. Oh. Okay, she didn't, have helm equipped. Oh, right, because it was stolen. I remember now. It's been a while since the last video, so I don't entirely recall these things, but, yeah, I'm using a lot of small mantles just because I don't have enough money to go all out on battle boots, which once again is a result of losing them to goblins. Alright, I think we're ready. Lenalia Plateau. Nothing terribly interesting there. Okay. So the last time I did this mission, oh yeah, I should mention that I did record this video one time before, but I had a couple problems. The first problem was that I was still quite sick, and my voice was shot. So I don't think that video would be very pleasant to listen to. And I'm sick. Oh. The second issue was that my archer was turned to crystal. So I had to restart on... It was basically the final turn of the entire mission. Like, not only the final because she was turned to crystal, but because I had killed everybody. This didn't really turn out for me. And the main reason why that happened was because I was too reliant on Ramza's raise spell as a priest. I didn't really appreciate the extent to which it's an unreliable spell. So I have to be a little bit more cautious in the way I play. So this is our second time fighting Miluda. And the big issue on this mission is to take out the casters as fast as possible. There are 2 casters in this mission who have haste, and if they both get going with haste, they can really outpace you. Teta almost panicking, so upset about his sister being taken. Understandably so. The first thing I'm going to need to do is try to break Miluda's shield. It's not easy. Not easy. So, this is the caster who is trying to cast an attack spell on us. And no matter what we do, we will act after that attack spell triggers. Fortunately. So, I think I'm just going to... that isn't their turn. Just their spells activating. So I will kill this character here. My archer. Since the last video, I did get life drain. Generally, it's been a very good spell for me, but when I did use it in this, in the previous time I recorded this video, I found it to be pretty lackluster. So I might have to wait until we get better casters, but Paralyze was very effective, so I will be using that again. If you don't know it, cast Don't Act, which is very, very good. And I'll hold off on that. We'll cast Shell. So here we go. All these spells are going to trigger. It's going to be quite the configuration. So Maluda has been hasted. Not necessarily a good thing for us. Fortunately, that triggered before my shell spell could go off. But can use Cure. Maluda has very high spell resist. Not terribly resistant to Don't Act, though. So this is going to put a lot of their characters out of commission, and then one of them is going to die. Goodbye. So using Charge there was really not necessary. It's not terribly important that I did or did not use it, because I couldn't have killed anything with that character anyhow. Maybe not the best move, but not the worst either. Sure. Going after the Oracle. Oracles have very high defense because of their utility skill. Alright. So the best thing that this character could do, ideally, would be to break Maluda's shield, but since that's only a possibility, not a sure thing, I am instead... Oh. Nowhere. So this knight in my way. Bother. Yeah. Okay. I'm instead going to kill that mage. I did. Bye. Now, this character does not have Don't Act cast on him. Excuse me. Yeah, see, 46% there. It's not that good. Rather than try to use Life Drain, I'm gonna hope that Don't Act triggers on this character. Now let's see how much this Black Mage can do. That's respectable. I think fire does more damage, yeah. Great. As you can see, Don't Act wears out pretty quickly when the enemies have haste on them because they go through their turns that much faster. Still quite useful. Some of the terrain dynamics at work there. Yeah. I'm gonna move up here and attack. And I will kill this knight. My Oracle is out of mana, except for barest amount, and we'll cast Cure. So, Deneb. I feel like her magic isn't going to be terribly useful. So I'm just going to heal her, so I don't have to worry about her possibly dying. Yeah, that's not fantastic, but nevertheless, it's better than nothing. Which is more or less what we're going to be doing against Aluda. Yeah, up here. Oh. Oops, 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 oops. My mistake. Not really sure what Delta's doing, to be perfectly honest. Nothing useful, that's for sure. Right. Win some, you lose some. Now, it's a good thing that my Black Mage is still alive, because what that means is that I can now use my Phoenix down on Ramza, which is important. I have no other way to revive my characters. Take out everybody. Kind of. Just got a flame rod. I feel like even if I hit Maluto with that, it's not going to do very much damage. And alright. She dies. That was what I hoped would happen. Alright, so let's bring Ramza back to life. Nice thing about Phoenix Down is that it never misses. Unlike Raise, which misses all the time. Ugh. Dating. Yeah. Finally. Oh. Bad? Alright. Go for round 2, shall we? Frustrating. There's actually some dialogue that Ramza has with her, which is quite interesting, but we're not going to see it at this rate, because just keeps killing him. Finally. See, even with her shield broken, her guard chance is so high. This is really getting tiresome. There's really nothing I can do about it. Just gonna keep killing Ramza. Oh no. Well, please be my guest. I'm gonna weaken my casters who have no mana? Curse the thought. So I think you might get the impression that Maluda is more difficult than she used to be, but I'm not entirely sure that's the case. It's hard for me to gauge because I'm playing at such a low level compared to what I would normally be at. And it has been interesting playing at a lower level because, I mean, the challenge is obviously more, but it also just kind of encourages you to think differently when you're so used to playing through FFT in a certain pattern. I think she is just going to go and try to get some treasure for us. Here we go. So as I said, Ramza really, he thinks in very personal terms. But Maluda doesn't. She's thinking in more structural terms, like she's saying it's not your fault, but I'll keep blaming you until there's a change, because Ramza represents his class, his family. And Ramza really doesn't have much of a conception of class. I mean, he understands it at some basic level, but I think he's always been encouraged to think of people as individuals instead of as in terms of their social status. And I guess you could say there's a very positive side to that, but there's also a problematic side to that where, you know, basically believes that the Beowulfs are good people, and he's not really able to understand the real reasons for why the Death Corps are rebelling. Still sort of like, was a revolution really necessary? When, you know, these people are being hunted down and killed like dogs at this point. And, well, we'll see a little bit more dialogue momentarily. Don't know what to do with him though. I guess I'll just get him to cure himself. It's job points. Ooh, wow. Still desperately believes that it's possible to talk out the problem and even going so far as to say he'll talk to Lord Larg, which is just a ludicrous notion. Considering what we know about Larg and Dysadarg, we're really not inclined to negotiate with revolutionaries. And honestly, we know Ramza isn't lying. He sincerely wants to create a peaceful solution to this issue, this conflict. Not least of all because he genuinely does want to save Teta. A little bit odd that we had so many treasure boxes drop on this mission, as opposed to crystals. So I could kill Maluda there, but I think I'm going to actually try to get that last item first. And I'm not going to worry about that last night. I doubt there's any skills that are terribly useful I can learn from her. Bye. I'm so just unable to grasp what's going on. And Delta equally facing this crisis of identity. It's interesting that, you know, even though Ramza is a noble from a very established family and Delta is a commoner who's just been raised among them, you know, they're going through a crisis to a similar degree, and I guess that goes to show that they're both sort of the products of Balbane's education and his ideals. Alright, that is it for this episode. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and hopefully there will be another one out quite soon. And I will get that poll up about classes and characters very shortly.